to be interviewing Lindsay Hamrick, who is with the Humane Society of the United States Companion Animal Division and works as their Director of Policy. And we will also be speaking with Hilary Hager, who is the Senior Director for Volunteer Engagement for HSUS. So both of you, welcome. We're so happy to have you with us today. We're eager to hear your thoughts. How are you both doing?
Go ahead, Liz.
Doing okay. Yeah, it feels like week 5, and it feels a little exhausting, but also hopeful.
Yeah, same. It's a thing. It's a full-time thing, but I'm grateful to be in a position of being able to help and to be comfortable and safe at home, and I'm excited to be able to provide some support to people who might need it.
We are so happy to have you guys with us today because we are in week 5 of COVID-19 response, and shelter staff, animal control officers, animal welfare professionals, everyone, we're exhausted. And you guys are both just fantastic assets. The Humane Society of the United States, Lindsay with your work-life balance presentations, Hilary with traveling throughout the country, doing compassion fatigue for animal welfare workers. Thanks for being here. We'd love to hear a few thoughts from you on this week 5 slowdown where everybody is just feeling so exhausted.
Yeah, I'm hearing it too. And I think all of us know that people in this business grapple with compassion fatigue just on a good day. And we are so committed and always going the extra mile to do this work, even when it can be really painful, just in our normal work worlds. But even then, usually, and hopefully at least often, people are able to at least step away from work every once in a while, right? They might have a bad day at work, but they can get home, they can unplug for a little bit. And it's, that sort of respite and that ability to find some way to sort of turn off the stress has really been eliminated because people come home and then they can't leave their homes, or they're at home all the time, and everybody's routines are really different. And so there's sort of that low level, and it's not even a low level, but relative low level of continuous compassion fatigue that people are struggling with. And then there's this really acute situation that's going on right now. And so I think it's just so overwhelming. And it's not just because people are concerned for their own welfare and worried about the animals, but because they're worried about their friends and their family and their financial situations. And it's all sort of mixed up together. And so, when I think about a lot of times, Kim, you've come to my workshop and we talk a lot about how to think about work and how to relate to the work. And there are strategies for that sort of longer term in it everyday sort of stress. But when you think about this acute stuff, when there's this, this sort of sense of dread that is kind of, I think, pretty present for people, there's some other sort of steps you have to take. It's not just about how you relate to your work. It's like literally pressing pause on your stress response and really using some strategies to try to calm yourself down, to really self-soothe, to do, there's a whole suite of things you can do, but to really think about, like, how can I be okay right now? Even though I can't control anything else around me, what are the things that I can control, and how can I make myself feel better right now? And it's a lot. And, and I always say that, when I do these workshops, I always want to make sure people don't think that I have it all figured out and that I'm some sort of Zen master, because I'm not. And this is something I always have to practice. But I'm finding I'm having to really focus on it myself because, we as caregivers, I think, tend to do a really terrible job of taking care of ourselves. And especially now in such a crisis, everybody's trying to do everything they can. And, that saying about putting your mask on before assisting others, we are like blue in the face trying to put masks on all of the things right now. And so my heart is really with everybody who's struggling, and I'm in it. So I get it.
Lindsay, what do you, talking about work-life balance, what would you say to these CEOs and presidents and directors and managers, the shelter staff, that it's really hard to put down the phone? Your staff is calling, there's things happening, you're trying to soothe your staff. When do you shut it down?
Yeah, and I think, all of us work from home normally, and all of us are feeling anxiety and sort of general stress. So I can only imagine what folks who have never worked from home or haven't had to transition into that culture are feeling right now. What I think should happen first and foremost is at that leadership level, and that might mean your CEO But it really does apply to anybody that's managing anyone. So if you're overseeing volunteers, if you have one person reporting to you, this is the time to set very explicit directions on what working from home looks like. And that includes what hours you're supposed to be available. And I remember when I first started working for HSUS after I had worked in sheltering for a long time, my first day working from home, I walked from my bedroom to my living room and I sat down at my computer and I opened it and I was sort of like, how long do I sit in front of my computer? Like, am I just supposed to be here? Is that what my job description is? And I emailed my boss and I said, hey, like, what are my work hours? And it was super clear that there had not been many people at HSUS who had ever asked that before. And she said, well, like maybe 8:30 to 4:30 or 9 to 5, like we would expect you to answer emails. And I think right now, one of the ways that leadership can reduce some of the stress about the basics of working from home is be super clear. So what is somebody's work hours? When are they expected to sit in front of a screen and answer emails if that's what the context of your job is? If the context of your job has nothing to do with computer work, again, what are your hours? And then in the off hours, so the excuse that we hear a lot in the nonprofit community, and animal welfare is certainly in this boat, is that emergencies happen after hours. So everyone can't work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, which absolutely is true. But there's a way to have an emergency on-call program so that people can be off. And we mostly all communicate via email. So when we're off, that just means that an emergency phone call or text comes in. So it's a different level of communication. For me, if I sit in front of my computer all weekend or on my phone at night checking email, I'm never going to come off of the stress, the general anxiety that we always feel when we're working. So I think leaders just have the conversation, do a survey of your staff right now about what anxieties are they feeling or what uncertainty do they feel about what working from home actually means. And you'll be surprised at how many specific questions your staff have. I wasn't sure if I could be on Facebook when I started working for HSUS. Like, will my boss see that I'm on Facebook and that's a big deal? Like, I didn't know. So you're starting to build a culture around what working from home actually looks like.
Hilary, you mentioned self-soothing, and I think we're in a very dangerous time right now. Whether it's animal welfare or really any other industry, alcohol sales are up 60% over last year. And so talk about some self-soothing that you can do that's not alcohol, because I really do think that we're in a dangerous situation here.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you asking, because I've been sort of joking that like the best thing to come out of this for me is that Washington just started allowing breweries to deliver, and it's been a game changer for us. So it's funny that you're asking the question, but I think you're right. I mean, the problem is that, when we are really heightened and our nervous system is overwhelmed and we're just that anxious. If we're not doing that self-soothing, we have to find other sort of artificial means of trying to bring ourselves down, right? And that's what the alcohol and anything else is meant to help with. And of course, it doesn't help. It affects our sleep, and it doesn't really allow us to get the healing and the recuperative benefits of sleep or anything else that we're doing when we're calm. And so, there's lots of different things to do, and there's lots of, the other good thing actually that's come out of this is how many care providers and people who really care about humans and how they function are making all of their stuff available, and it's just pushing it out there so that people can really access it, which I think is amazing. It's just sometimes it's overwhelming and there's too much, but most of the stuff around self-soothing has to do with breathing. There's all kinds of research around breath work and the benefits that, there are a bunch of different strategies, but sort of cyclical breathing where you're really regulating your breathing to sort of calm down. It's the same sort of thing you would do with meditation or with yoga. There are ways that if you're having a really kind of acute freak out, you can work on trying to orient yourself to your environment and just really feel your body and feel where you are in your body and really pay attention to the space around you. And there are a lot of exercises out there, but it's just, when we're, our body, when we're in a state of stress, is just focused on surviving. And all of our systems like narrow in on the functions in our body that we need to stay alive. And whatever the consequences, like just go do it and we'll figure out we'll deal with all of the damage of it later. But this is one of those places where we don't know how long this is going to last, right? I mean, I keep thinking that that's kind of the hardest part. If there's a hurricane, it's hard. You know what to do when there's a storm, and you know what to do post-storm for recovery. And there's this idea like eventually things are going to get back to normal, and it's so hard right now not to know. It's like, it's the equivalent of going on spring break, except you never know when spring break's going to end, and you could wind up doing some serious damage to yourself if you're not pacing yourself, particularly with alcohol or any other self-soothing. And so really, really recognizing the need, and not just going along with your body's response, but really thinking like, I need to be deliberate about this. I need to make time for it. I need to do this breathing. I need to do the calming. If it's exercise, that's great. Maybe exercise is the thing, but we have to take time for it. And I really want to echo what Lindsay said. We have to make time for our staff to do it too. And leaders and organizations, I think, really need to model that behavior. And it's hard when the weight of the organization is on us to do that. And it might be a matter of faking it until we make it. But I think, staff really does take their cues from leadership. And I think it's important to model that behavior as well.
I heard a rumor that you have a dog named Grandma, Lindsay. Is that right?
To be clear, her name is Grandma Baguette, not just Grandma. She has this like gray stripe on her back, which kind of makes her look like a piece of moldy bread. Yes, she is the best Chihuahua in the world.
Look at her face. She's so mad. She's so mad.
This is every picture I have of her. Oh, look.
Any fur creatures to keep you company?
Yeah, plenty. I have 2 dogs, Henry and Barley, and then I have 2 cats, Arlo and Bug. And Arlo is there, chilling, looking for birds. There's a hummingbird feeder out there, so he's scoping the scene.
Work buddy.
Yeah.
Be well, drink your water, get lots of rest, cuddle with your pets. And I'm sure we'll be talking with you again very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.